Just imagine you get a new job at a sushi restaurant. You work hard during your first day there, slowly getting used to the place, meeting new people, making friends. You even meet a beautiful girl who works with you. But then one night, you discover a hidden passage leading to the restaurant's basement, and there you find human body parts everywhere. That's when you realize the entire staff has been infected by some unknown virus. One that makes them crave human flesh. Can you escape alive? I know in my last video I promised to make a video about crazy JRPGs, but this game completely changed my plans because of how unexpectedly good it is. So don't forget to grab some food because today's game is the Sushi House. Lying to himself that he only wants to sleep for 5 more minutes, our main character wakes up because today is his first day at the new job and he definitely doesn't want to miss it. Standing near the window, I honestly can't even imagine where this guy worked before, because just look at this view. I took a shower and look into mirror. Maybe the main character is a vampire because there's absolutely no reflection. I walk around the apartment for a bit. What a nice place. Touched the furniture, thought about what I'd probably do after work, and then left the apartment. Our new job is located on the first floor of the same building we live in. After taking the elevator down, I passed by the casino entrance, talked with a bunch of kick streamers there. One of them had apparently lost all of his surgery money gambling. Well, what can I say? Do not gamble, kids, or you will end up streaming to 30 viewers and crashing out every time you lose 20 bucks, I don't know. I walk past a bunch of other restaurants. It's probably some kind of food court, and our workplace, the sushi restaurant, is located at the very end of the hallway. I entered the restaurant and went straight to the kitchen. That's where I met one of my co-workers. They told me I should get changed and meet other co-worker who would train me and show me what my responsibilities are. I got changed and immediately found my co-worker Yuki. She'll be training me today. My first task was mopping the floor, but before I could even start, my manager approached us, yelling that we should already be working. I wanted to talk back because he looks like someone who doesn't work at all. Maybe he should mop the floor himself and burn a few of those calories. Unfortunately, I didn't say that. I just wanted to start doing my job. I wouldn't say I enjoyed the process. Work is a work. At least I put my music on. After finishing it, Yuki thoroughly explained how serving food works here. Apparently, I need to place the dish on a tray and then put it onto the correct track so it can deliver itself to the customers. Simple enough. But apparently some of the tracks are pretty old, so every now and then I also need to fix the electricity. So now I'm a cleaner, a waiter, and somehow an electrician too. What is my paycheck even going to look like? Hopefully good. I really don't want to join a trade union anytime soon. She also added that my performance gets graded every day from F to A. Just need to avoid getting an F because otherwise I'll get fired in no time. With that said, Yuki laughed she'll come back in the afternoon. That's her shift, and my first shift began. In terms of the gameplay, it's pretty simple. I didn't really struggle with anything. Every dish starts with rice, and then you're supposed to add the second required ingredient, and occasionally repair the tracks. After getting my first D, what? I never said I was going to be a new Gordon Ramsay. That's when Yuki approached me. She said my first day was perfect. I thought I was doing like shit, but apparently it wasn't that bad. And after all those much needed compliments, she invited me to eat with her at the nearby noodle restaurant. It's her break anyway. After getting changed to regular clothes, I went straight to the place. She was already there. We ordered our food, and after listening to the worst ASMR, I had already started fantasizing about a second date. However, she suddenly became serious and started talking about the recent news, about the terrifying monster virus that is spreading right now. Apparently, it makes people crave human flesh, but the scariest part is that you cannot even detect who is infected. On the outside, they look completely normal. She also wanted to tell me something about our workplace, but I could sense the hesitation in her voice. She seemed worried that I might expose their secret to everyone. I told her I wouldn't, but despite all her worrying, she still didn't tell me anything. She just said we'd continue the conversation tomorrow, and with that, she suddenly darted out of the restaurant. Yeah, that's usually how my days go. With all of that in mind, I headed back to my apartment. On the way there, I even heard some homeless guy giving a life advice. After getting back home, I couldn't stop thinking about what Yuki had said, so immediately after coming back, I turned on the news about the virus. And yeah, everything she said was true. A virus that turns people into cannibals, with no visible symptoms at all, meaning the infected are hitting among society. After watching all that, my body started feeling heavy. Not surprising, I did all that work today, and I ended up falling asleep on the couch. While taking the elevator down, I kept thinking about the secret Yuki mentioned yesterday. Today she's supposed to reveal it. The guy who was giving life advice yesterday was still sleeping near the entrance. I decided not to wake him up. In the kitchen, I greeted my coworker and asked them about the virus. They said it was terrifying, but work still has to be done. I was about to get changed when I heard a strange sound coming from the changing room. It sounded like a draft, but this place is completely sealed off, isn't it? With that in mind, I started mopping the floor in the main room. But then some guy started knocking on the door, even though the restaurant was still closed. Thinking it was just another gambler, I went to talk to him. Turns out he was the manager of another sushi restaurant right in front of ours. I never understood why people open their business right next to a competitor. He also adds that he wanted to speak with the manager and gave his card. I couldn't find my manager anywhere, so I opened the restaurant myself and I started working. Today was definitely busier than yesterday, but honestly I was doing pretty well. I mean, not exactly S plus run perfectly, but hey, a C is still passing. On my way home, I ran into Yuki. For some reason, she seemed really uneasy. She was about to tell me what she promised yesterday, but suddenly our manager interrupted the conversation, asking Yuki to come talk with her. Then she told me to just head home. While getting changed, I could hear my manager yelling at Yuki because she was looking for something in a changing room. Maybe she heard the strange draft too. Yuki's definitely in trouble. If the manager is pressing her hard, but if there's nothing there, then what's the point of the conversation? Trying to help by interrupting them, I handed the manager a business card from his competitor. I just hope Yuki's going to be alright. I headed home, but I didn't forget to greet my homeless friend. He doesn't have a name, so I'll just call him Robert. We had a little chat. I promised I'd buy him coffee next time I see him, and then left. On my way out, some thug asked if I wanted to make some money. They looked suspicious as hell, so like the brave man I am, I confidently said, "I'm sorry," and immediately rushed away. I got cleaned up, jumped straight to bed, and finally got some well-deserved rest, but then someone interrupted my sleep. Who could it be? It was Yuki. At this hour? What does she want? She said that we needed to see something, and that if we didn't go now, we might never get another chance. Completely burning with curiosity, I agreed. We arrived at the first floor right in front of our workplace. But the place looked completely different from usual. Everything was glowing red. From what Yuki told me, this restaurant serves different kinds of food to different customers at night. After entering the restaurant, we headed straight to the changing room. Yuki said she had also heard a draft coming from behind lockers. Then she moved them aside and found a secret passage. Instead of calling the police or running away like normal people, we entered the passage. I mean, we're in a horror game, so it makes sense. Just around the corner, we saw a long trail of scarlet blood on the floor, and of course we kept going deeper. Yuki thinks this basement is used to prepare food for infected people. She also mentioned that there must be another entrance, so they can bring in fresh bodies. And then in a split second, our chef suddenly appeared, asking what I was doing down here all by myself. All by myself? I turned my head and Yuki was gone. Looking into Chef's glowing red eyes, I started panicking. But then he broke the silence by saying that I should come with him. I needed to carry a black sack with me. And when we went upstairs to the kitchen, the chef started talking about the reincarnation, saying that I still didn't understand anything, but soon I would. In the kitchen, I looked at the screen where all the orders were listed, and there were new menu items: tongue nigiri, finger rolls, eyeball gukon. Yeah, I really hoped I wouldn't be serving that. Then I tried fixing the rails, but saw black silhouettes with those same glowing eyes started chasing me. After a few pathetic attempts, I finally got the rails working. Then I opened the black sack from the restaurant. There were human body parts inside. I didn't even have a second to process what I was seeing. My manager suddenly appeared and started brutally choking me. And then it was just a dream. Our main character wakes up with his hands shaking and his body aching, but he still convinces himself that it was all just a dream. Even so, can't stop worrying about Yuki. What secret was she trying to tell me? I grabbed my friend Robert and suddenly, he looked exactly like everyone from my nightmare. For a second I thought I still hadn't woken up. Trying to ignore it, I went straight to work. The chef mentioned that Yuki wouldn't be coming today. Apparently she wasn't feeling well, so I'd have to take her shift instead, and for just a second, they also turned into those same people from my nightmare. Now doubting every word they said, I quietly started getting ready. I heard that draft coming from the lockers. I knew it wasn't my imagination, but at least for once, our main character had a good idea and decided not to check it right now. Working my ass off, I kept serving food and mopping the floor. But this day wasn't normal. Those strange red orders started appearing on the screen. Not having ingredients for anything like that, I just ignored them. But the hallucinations kept becoming more frequent. I was legitimately thinking I'd get an S plus this time, even with all those cursed orders. But no, just regular C again. Immediately I checked the passage in the changing room, and it looked exactly like it did in my dreams. But my monstrous manager heard the noise of the moving lockers, so I didn't enter and quickly put everything back where it was. Still, my manager didn't believe my excuses. First, he fired me, and then started chasing after me. What was the point of firing me then? Finally, I made it to the elevator, quickly darted back to my apartment. However, I suddenly heard the doorbell ring. Don't tell me. It was a detective. He was asking me about a missing person. It was Yuki. I described everything that had happened today. The passage, the chase, everything. After our conversation, he handed me his card and said I should report anything unusual. I took a quick shower to clear my head. Should I start searching for a new job or maybe try to find Yuki first? With that in mind, I hit the bed, but it seems impossible to get any rest in this place. An unknown caller woke me up in the middle of the night, but it was Yuki. Frightened and heavily breathing, she was asking for help. She was trapped in some sort of basement. I immediately suggested calling the police. She shut that idea down immediately, saying they most likely work for them anyway, and that it would be pointless. She was just asking me to come, so do we really go save her all by ourselves? Here we have two options, call the detective or go alone. I don't quite trust that man, so like a real hero I was already at the entrance of the restaurant, because that's the only place she could be. Entering the kitchen, I saw the manager. I needed to distract him so I could sneak into the basement. I grabbed an empty bottle and threw it to the opposite side of the kitchen, and somehow it worked. Not suspicious at all to have flying bottles around. Finally, I was in the basement itself, and it looked exactly like it did in my dreams. There were blood stains everywhere, and somehow my manager had already sneaked down here. So I needed to be careful and avoid getting caught. There was a locked door. I need to find the code and restore the electricity first. While doing that, I found a PC with some files. Not those files, relax. They explained how the virus spreads, and apparently to get infected, you need to interact with the infected inside a shared dream. Does that mean No, this wasn't the time to think about it. After a long session of searching around, I finally found the code and opened the door, and there was Yuki, tied up. She was shocked that I actually found her, but before we could do anything, the manager entered the room. I instantly hid inside a locker, listening to what he was doing. The manager slowly pulled up a chair and sat down in front of Yuki. He said he could sense someone nearby. Then he continued talking about how Yuki and I have different fates. With all that mysterious nonsense said, he left. I climbed out of the locker, grabbed the bolt cutter straight out of Resident Evil, and untied her. She was glad that I hadn't called the detective. She was convinced he was infected, and that we wouldn't have had a chance if I had contacted him. Then we separated. Yes, we're still in a horror game. She would look for the key, and I would search for a letter. The plan was to escape through the ventilation system, and before leaving, she suggested that if one of us got into trouble, we shouldn't risk our lives trying to help. We should just run and save ourselves. I mean, I snuck into the basement, distracted the manager multiple times, solved the puzzles just to get you out, only to hear that you wouldn't do the same for me. I mean, thank you. Appreciate it. I remembered where the letter was, inside the giant freezer, so I headed straight there. But before I could meet up with Yuki, the door suddenly slammed shut, and there I was, standing in front of the manager's glowing red eyes. He was furious that I kept getting in his way. Again, he started rambling about fate. Luckily, Yuki didn't keep her promise, and came back to distract him. But for me it was over. I couldn't escape the freezer, the door was locked, and there was no other way out. Yuki couldn't save me, so the game switched to her point of view. After 1,000 attempts, don't worry, it's not the game. Yaoi just has brain damage and doesn't know how to play properly. We finally escaped the basement. But the manager wasn't ready to let us go, so he started chasing us. Near the elevator there was a man. Panicking, Yuki started begging him for help. But he was infected too, and the manager finally started preparing food for his customers. Yeah, I don't really like this ending, so let's try again. But this time, we'll have the detective on our side. Surely this strong, reliable man will help us out. Right? Right? I did everything exactly the same, except this time I called the detective. And when I finally reached Yuki, I hid from the manager just like last time. But now, we get the different dialogue between them. He said that he already knows I tried contacting the authorities. Apparently, he has the detective on a leash. Well, that was awkward. She also mentioned that Yuki was nothing more than ingredient for his clients. And then the chef immediately started stabbing her. Is he from London or something? Looking at Yuki's body, the main character said that he couldn't do anything. No bro, you could leave the locker and hit the manager as hard as possible. That would have been unexpected, but who am I to judge? We need to escape this basement or we'd end up like a Yuki. After searching around for a bit, I found a key and opened a door. The passage was glowing with red lights. Was any of this even real? There were disturbing messages written across the wall, and those same black silhouettes we saw earlier were haunting us again. We finally escaped the basement and ended up in the dining area, and there on the rail track, slowly moving toward us, was our friend, but only part of her. And inside this red glowing area there was a file explaining everything. It said that infected people who see a strange door leading to a red passage have reached the final stage of transformation, which means we became infected, exactly like those people. Does this game even have a good ending? Actually, yes. All you need to do is, after freeing Yuki, take the doorknob from the manager's table and use it on a freezer door. Then you need to grab the ladder and escape through the vent. But what about our friend? While crawling through the vent, the camera switches to Yuki's perspective as she runs from the manager and escapes the restaurant. But this time, unlike in the bad ending, the main character can drop a trapdoor while crawling through the vent exactly onto the fatso. Then we finally call the cops. We're sitting together in my apartment with Yuki, listening to the news. The entire restaurant and all of its employees were arrested because they were infected by the Mancer virus and turning people into food for their customers. The police confiscated all the files hidden in the basement, and apparently they helped speed up research for a cure. Yuki is happy that we're still a human, But then we see the world through the main character's eyes. Everything is glowing red, which supposedly means he got infected too. The files explain that to get infected you need to interact with someone carrying the virus, and I assume our colleague here is the one who got us into this mess. And that's the end. The game was really nice, especially considering it was made by a solo developer. Maybe we'll end up eating Yuki, who knows. But hey, at least it's something. There were some annoying chase sequences, but overall I'd still recommend giving it a try yourself. And yeah, it's actually scary sometimes. For example, right at this moment my nephew just walked out of my room. Thank you for watching. If you don't want to miss the next video, consider subscribing, and remember, sushi without fish is not real sushi.